Hi, Natty. How you going?
I'm doing well. How are you going straight?
I am doing very well. Back for another lovely Wednesday talking esports with you. It's a highlight of my day.
Yay! Oh, are you sure? You have a lot on
I,
Wednesdays.
I, I I'll say one of the highlights of my days.
Okay, good. Good,
Even
good.
even though this, actually, I will call it the highlight of my Thursday because this will air on Thursday. So
Oh, yeah.
there we
Fair,
go. We
fair,
got a
fair.
winner there. Everybody's a winner. Um, which is fun being, we're talking esports here. Everybody's a winner. We like that. And just participating, everyone's a winner.
Yeah, yeah. Except for all the losers, everybody's a
Yeah,
winner.
that's it. What's from Talladega Nights? If you're not first, you're last. Yeah. Uh,
I actually haven't seen Talladega Nights.
it's been a while since I've seen it. Like I went through this phase with Will Ferrell. Like some things he did, I really liked, but
Mm.
I generally didn't like him as a main character in things because he was just stupid. Like Anchorman was probably the one exception to that. Talladega Nights had its moments, but I think John C. Riley really did more in that than Will Ferrell did. Just
Yeah,
quietly.
John C. Riley.
Yeah,
He was the highlight of Step Brothers for me.
yeah. Although I will say, if there's a movie called Stranger Than Fiction where Will Ferrell plays a more dramatic role, really good. If you ever want got a movie that you want to see, Stranger Than Fiction, it like came out in, I want to say, mid to late 2000s. But it's basically this guy one day just starts hearing someone narrating his life, and
Oh,
yeah, it sounds really funky, and the trailer of it made it look really funny as well. And it is. It's got funny moments, but it's um, more drama based. But it's really good,
yeah.
really
Well,
good.
I mean, we all saw the turn out Adam Sandler did into dramatic roles,
Mm.
and like,
Well, he did Uncut Gems. I haven't seen that, but apparently that's really good.
oh, that movie is psychotic.
Yeah.
The pacing. Anyway, we are getting very carried away about things that aren't esports. Like
It's not.
sports,
It's not. Not even
because
video
Uncut Gems is
games.
about gambling on
Yeah.
sports, so
Yeah.
we're heading in the right direction.
I said not even video games. Just we're just talking about movies. But let's dive in here because this one it upset me a little bit. But reading into it, I can see why it happened.
Yeah.
The AESA put out a tender for Australian national qualifiers, and the winners for that would go on to the International Esports Federation competition. Unfortunately, they received zero submissions for this tender, which on the face of it, you kind of look at it and you go, that is absolutely terrible. But you dig a little bit deeper. The tender submission closed on the 1st of February, and there were 6 games that they had to run. So I think a couple of them even had a couple of different tournaments in it. So you're looking at a minimum of 6 tournaments that you would have had to run by the end of March,
Mm,
which is a very short time frame.
insane.
Um, so I'm not surprised that they didn't get, especially after order collapsed last year, and they were doing a lot of these sorts of things as well. So not hugely surprised, but I do kind of wonder why the time frame was so short. Like why wasn't this kind of done at the end of last year?
Yeah, well, you're thinking any of the major players that might have been able to support this, maybe like Fortress or we were talking before about the Game Expo. I know that they're new, but they do have some people with esports experience on their staff. There could have been some options, but I agree. I think that the turnaround time from the announcement to even putting in the submission might have been too short, let alone how long they have to run the events.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure when they announced that it was open, but there was an interesting tweet by Conky who does a lot of casting, but he also works in the background a lot with esports. So he's posted on Twitter about unfortunately our group was not given enough information despite constant pressure to submit a tender, namely due to lack of communication from IESF, not AESA. So
So
it sounds
IESF is the International Esports Federation.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so it sounds like they weren't giving AESA a lot of information, and conversely, that wasn't flowing through to the people that wanted to put in tenders. And and when you look at the stuff that they wanted, really, like 2 months is a hell of a short time frame to throw something together. And they wanted streams, they wanted information. Like the basic stuff in the tender kind of almost made it sound like they wanted them to arrange flights and stuff, which admitted, or maybe it's just actually reading this again is national trials must be completed by the 31st of March 2023 with all player information, including passports and a post-event report. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff to go through, just and it's a lot of risk if you're not getting the right information. So I guess it gets back to one of those things, like we always talk on this show about the professionalism of esports, and if you're international bodies, which hopefully have a lot more oomph behind them because they're getting some funding from much bigger regions than what we are. If they can't give us information, then really that level of professionalism internationally is already quite low.
Yeah, yeah, and it's frustrating when it's hindering us. So,
And I get it. We're a smaller region, and maybe that contributed some to this as well. But it's still very disappointing if you're trying to grow esports. And yeah,
it's a shame. I keep thinking about my sister got my little nephew a tomato plant, and and he was not looking after the plant very well, so it's ended up at Grandpa's place. And I just think at the moment we're not giving the opportunities to the right people, we're not giving them the right support, and it's a shame.
and it is hard because it does come down to money, and esports in OCE doesn't make money, and that's the issue. And look, we've spoken about parallels between sports and traditional sports and esports before, and I do find myself wondering if maybe there needs to be some sort of association membership, because that's how a lot of state organizations make money is by you pay a fee to play the sport, and they take some funds out of that, and some will go to insurance, blah 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 blah. So I'm wondering if there needs to be something like that. But of course, the flip side of that is these are games owned by private companies. So if they're not creating an organization to do something like that and put money into the smaller regions, then we don't get a lot of hope there, I don't think.
Yeah, it's a really interesting discussion. I think we might have spoken about it briefly with all the D&D stuff that happened recently with the open gaming license, and discussion about how a lot of game formats they can't actually trademark or copyright the actual game itself.
That's
But
why Words with Friends exists when Scrabble also exists.
yeah. But it's a very different case for esports. And we can't really apply the same rules because I can't play TFT without the TFT game.
Yeah.
I can play some other, auto chess game that isn't TFT and run events off of that, but it's not the same. Just
Yeah.
it's a difficult thing to manage, and we don't have the answers, but it's
Well,
interesting to talk about it.
Yeah, it is. And the solution, I think, is that the makers of the games themselves need to do something, but they are very much driven by bottom line, and if they're not seeing a return in a region, then they will back out. Yeah. So that was some not so nice news there, and it kind of continues with
talking about game makers not supporting their esports scenes very well.
Yeah.
So we were going to talk about the TFT Lux Open qualifier, next. So that happened this weekend, this last weekend past, an event running over 4 days, and it's fantastic because anybody can jump in. If you play TFT and OCE, you can jump in and try and see if you can qualify, make the top 4 spots. Um, Unfortunately, and I don't want any of this to be directed at the people who are on the ground trying to run the event, but they didn't have the experience of the people that have been running the events in OCE for the last couple of years, and it was a mess. It was just a mess. We've had a lot of our top players commenting just about a whole host of problems that happened over the whole event. I'm not sure if Straight's got that.
I've
That
got the twit longer that Escher put up here. It's very it's an in look, like you say, we don't want to dump on the people that were running the event because they were doing the best they had with the resources they had. But when they obviously were having trouble. Like
mm,
when a game is supposed to start at 4 o'clock and doesn't start until 4:40, you're already 40 minutes behind the 8 ball. There was reports of an organizer going to bed in the middle of the day because it sounded like he was running it from the US or Europe or somewhere, and so they've gone to bed, and but we've still got games to play.
yeah.
You've got people like Dave Harris, who works at Guinevere Capital, who put a lot of money into stuff like the LCO and ESL in general. And he signed up for the Open Qualifier for shits and giggles and has had to go, yeah, no, I've got to work for a living. I can't come here and do this. And even Escher's saying, like, 4 o'clock on a Thursday, they start check-ins at 3 o'clock. And if you've got a job, then bad luck. It's
Yeah, it was so funny in the chats and discords and stuff. They were calling it the unemployment cup
mm.
because you could only play if you didn't have a job.
And it's you joke like that, but that's pretty much it. If you would have had to have taken time off your work to participate in this, and it's just really not nice. And even
Yeah.
to the point, like, we've been trying to find results of this, and I think you found something in the end, Natty, but we had to really search and had to go into like some TFT discords to
Mm.
find this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, Australia and New Zealand has some unique challenges about time zones, which was another issue for this tournament as well, because you had players in New Zealand up until 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning for games. They had so a typical game of TFT might take about half an hour max, and they were having 40-minute breaks between games because they were having trouble getting things aligned and organized. So it really just expanded out the playtime. So yeah, you've got people sitting at their computers for 8 hours to play not that many games. It
Mm.
was, yeah. But yes, we did have 4 people qualify for the Spell Singer Cup, which was exciting. So it was Ubo, Kasuri, Perfect Slumbers, and somebody who I can't pronounce because I only have their Discord name, not their in-game TFT name. So it's a symbol, it's a couple of symbols.
Mm.
So I'll hopefully have that information for everybody next week. But we've also got the Annie Open qualifiers in a couple weeks. So that will be kicking off, I think from not this weekend, next weekend. What's the dates for that? The 17th, from the 16th to the 20th.
Nice.
So people do have another opportunity to jump in and play in the Annie Open qualifiers. Hopefully they've learnt some lessons. Hopefully whoever is sitting it right, watching all this going on, has maybe given them a bit more support. My dream would be if they got the order production crew back
Yeah.
together and gave it back to them, but we'll see how that goes.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe yeah, ESL. Have you got a little bit extra money? Maybe just throw it at that production crew and get them together for this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just, I think I said it last week. It's just a shame, like
Mm,
the region's so strong. We always have people going and competing well at
yeah.
Worlds in TFT, and it's just just a
Yeah.
real shame that it feels like we're being under-resourced and
Yeah.
disregarded.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
this isn't league. This isn't league where, we'd get out of group stages once in the last 10 years. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
this is TFT where we do quite well.
Mm.
And yeah, we just don't get that extra little bit of funding, Oh well. But it is what it is. Small region problems.
Yeah, yeah.
But I tell you, one thing where we kind of get a little bit more view. I'm not sure if viewership's the right word, but we get a little bit more excited about because there was the Rocket League CS last weekend. I actually got to watch a little bit of this. So normally I don't watch a lot of Rocket League, but I was sitting there and the channel was up on Twitch, and I thought, oh, we'll go and have a look at that. And I tell you what, I absolutely loved it. It's like we've spoken a little bit before about barriers to entry on esports, and Rocket League is just such a simple premise, and you can see it. Anybody who plays a sport normally will see it. Will see players getting into position to support each other, and the crosses. It's soccer with cars. It's not
Yeah.
not hard to understand. And when you got a 3v3, it just you can see the setups, you can see what's happening, and you can see why people like it. It's just a very standard, easy to understand esport, and I think that's what esports needs more of. But before I go too in depth off that rail, and go down that rabbit hole a little bit further, I want to say congratulations to Ground Zero, who made it through the whole thing with only dropping one game, and that was in the final.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So congratulations to Pioneers, who came second, and I think they were the ones that took the game off Ground Zero. But yeah, they were just amazing, and cannot wait to see where they go next with that.
Yeah, Rocket League's always a treat to watch, and I think our commentators as well in OCE are fantastic at building that hype.
Yeah.
When somebody's getting some massive air, it's great to see.
I still don't know how. Like I played a little bit of Rocket League. I think everybody has, and you see them juggling the ball and like boosting through the air, and you sit to go, how you do that? Like,
Yes,
how
I
much
have
Red
some
Bull
friends
did you
that
drink before that to give you that much wings?
yeah, I have some friends that play, and anytime I play with them, I'm just like going up the walls a little bit and doing, yeah,
Yeah, I'm
not.
helping. Yeah.
I'm helping. Yeah, I'll try and crash into the other team.
Mm.
That'll be my job.
And that's like the number one thing I do at the start is like I try and get that head on and maybe like delete somebody straight off the bat, and yeah, fun times, fun
We'll
times.
leave it to the experts, hey?
Yeah, I think that might
Yeah.
also be a good idea. So now I'm not sure if there's like a championship or somewhere further to go after that, but a nice place to hold it if there was like a LAN event for it would be Fortress Sydney, which is opening soon. So
Mm.
I don't know if everybody's kind of been to Fortress Melbourne. And like if you have, you would know just what an amazing place it is, from the tavern area there to the Alienware Esports Arena. And it's just, oh, it's so good. Natty and I at PAX last year, we did we recorded a nuts and bolts in one of the streamer pods at Fortress Melbourne there, and seeing them get off the ground in Sydney is going to be amazing.
Yeah, no, it's going to be brilliant, and I think we're seeing a lot of the same elements that we're seeing based in Melbourne, which has obviously brought them some success that they're repeating. But you spotted something in the stadium, which I thought was pretty cool.
I did, yeah. So they've released a little bit of a fly-through video, which if you're watching on twitch.tv/GameOnOz, you'll be seeing that now. So they've got like the merch shop, which they've got at Melbourne as well, and the sort of LAN cafe style thing as well. But in the esports arena there, they've got some like private booths up the top, which I think is a really cool little addition. I like the idea of being able to sit back there and watch it. And it just like I got to say, like, I kind of wish that maybe there was an individual screen in there. That's about the only thing that I would say to improve that. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'm just going to be sitting right up the front and watching that esports if I ever get enough money to get into one of those booths.
I was just thinking as well, like imagine they go corporate box style with it. Your business
Oh,
gets a corporate box for the seasons, sit up the top there and
mm.
watching all the esports events.
I could handle that. I think I would very much like that, but then I'd have to move to Sydney to get that.
Well, Choctaw Fortress. They might
And
need a man on the ground for Fortress Perth.
yeah, yeah. Get your people to call my people Fortress. We'll set something up. We'll sort it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and call Natty if you get a Fortress Adelaide.
Yes. Keen.
Yep.
Keen. Oh my goodness. I was just this is totally out of like no context whatsoever. Was on in Chinatown in Adelaide, and I saw through up in one of the high buildings a window, and I could see the reflection of a racing game that I used to play and I used to run tournaments for in Adelaide. I was like, they have a machine. And me and my hubby we ran up there and they had it. They had this machine up in like a mini arcade, which if you live in Adelaide, arcades are hard to come by. We've got a
Mm.
couple of in our main malls, but we don't really have any big arcades anymore. So it was really just an exciting little find. But yes, Fortress, I'm your girl. Come to Adelaide. We'll hook you up. We got room for you.
What was the game? I'm curious now.
Initial D.
Good
Yeah.
old Initial
So
D.
yeah. No, back when I was an arcade rat, as I call myself. Yeah, there was a great scene for competitive DDR and Initial D. We had like heaps of Initial D players that were actually ranking at the highest levels of the worldwide rankings at the time on version 2 of the game, which
Nice.
will tell everybody at home how old I am, very old. um, yeah, just exciting. Like those kind of local LAN events for arcade games are really exciting, and they're still doing it for Dance Dance Revolution, which is really cool.
You know, when I want to age myself, I tell people when I used to buy McFlurries as a kid, they actually got flurried.
Ah!
So you've got this name of an ice cream that is a flurry, like it's supposed to be all whipped up, and like they used to mix it all up. Like the plastic spoon that it came with used to have that clip on the end of it, so they could plug it into the machine and it would stir
Oh, is
everything
that
up.
how it got all
Yeah,
mixed up?
that's why the McFlurry
Ah,
spoons, the end used to be so fat because it would plug it into the machine and it would stir everything up. Nowadays, it's put your ice cream in and we'll chuck your M&Ms or your Oreo crumbs on top. But
yeah. Yeah, I
flurry them
personally
again,
prefer
McDonald's. Bloody hell!
I
Come on.
personally prefer to go to Hungry Jack's because if you get a storm, you get the giant layer of Oreo crumbs at the
Mm.
bottom
But even
and
that,
on
like
the top.
that's called a storm, which kind of brings up imagery of everything being stirred up, and it is not. It is just dumped on a bit in the bottom, a bit in the top.
Cutting corners. Come on,
Yeah.
Macca's and
Well, at
Hungry
least there's
Jack's.
some in the bottom of the storms, because like you can get to the end of the cause ice cream, and there's still some chocolate flake. I go flake for my
Yeah.
storm. So there's still a little bit left in the bottom you can mix with the ice cream, but
Mm.
still, how did we get onto that? Ooh,
I don't
a
know,
little bit.
man. We,
No,
we
I
were
think
6 steps away. It was my fault.
yeah.
I take full responsibility.
No, well, let's get back on track a little bit here because if you're interested in Pokemon, ESL have announced the Pokemon Oceania Regional Championship in Perth. So if you're in Perth, give this a look. Happening at the Convention Centre on Saturday and Sunday, the 4th and 5th of March, which is don't know for sure, but usually that first weekend in March is a long weekend as well. So you'll have Monday off to recover, which is nice. But you can sign up for that now for the Pokemon TCG, VCG, and Pokemon Go. And also spectators need to register as well. So if you want to head along to that, get in there, which I'm very excited about. And for those of you that haven't played Pokemon Go for a while, like Natty does in the pre-show, we were talking about it. Yes, Pokemon
Yeah.
Go does have a competitive battling system in there.
Yeah, which is so cool.
Mm.
I kind of regret stopping playing Pokemon Go, but I also know I've invested that time very wisely in
Yeah.
other things.
I
So
was gonna say I only just kicked the habit like a week or so ago, and I don't miss it at the moment. Like, it got to the point where I was just logging in every day to like spin the daily stop and catch the daily Pokemon, and that was about it. So I wasn't really playing it anymore. It was like an obligation type thing.
Yeah.
So I'll go that, and I've got a lot of other mobile games that have daily quests that I need to get into, like Marvel Snap. I need to do my dailies in that.
Oh my God. Isn't that so crazy when you were a kid and you just played a game? You didn't have to log into it every day.
Oh, I know. Well, I don't. Yeah, it's. Who would have thought that you would have to log in daily to games to get that dopamine hit, and you couldn't just sit there and play a game and beat a boss, and no.
Nah.
But,
Don't want you coming back.
that's exactly right. And something else that we keep coming back to this year as well is the LCO. So we're back. Group stages have now finished. We have not group stages. Round robin has now finished, and we have our leaders after that. So we know who's going to be in what group. But first, let's talk about some results. So I'm very glad I didn't save my spreadsheet from last week, because my picks have pretty much gone right out the window. So for Monday night, Team Bliss defeated Mammoth. Pentanet took down the Direwolves. Chiefs went down to Peace as well. So that was Peace's first game in the LCO for Split 1 2023 after their visa issues. They're looking pretty good. I've got to say, like, for a team that hasn't played, I don't know if they've been scrimming, but they're looking pretty bloody good on the Rift there. And the last game for Monday night, Ground Zero picked up their first actual win, because they did get a forfeit against Peace, but they've got an actual win against Kanga there as well. So on to the Tuesday night. So that was last night for us now. So Direwolves defeated Peace, which was a freaking banger game. If you want to go back and watch the VODs, I highly recommend that. It turned into the longest game. Like, on Monday night, Pentanet and Direwolves played out the longest game of the split, and then the night after that, Direwolves and Peace beat it. So Direwolves have had two really big games in a row, but good to see them recover from that and take the win against Peace there. Then I'm not quite sure what happened, but because I didn't get to really watch this one, but Team Bliss beat Pentanet. Which I would not have picked. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm happy to see Team Bliss having some success, but it's not one I would have picked. Ground Zero beat Mammoth. So my estimations of Mammoth in my picks were definitely not quite there. But in what is probably the biggest upset of the split so far, Kanga beat Chiefs.
Nobody picked that. Surely nobody picked that. Like,
I have no idea. Like, I'm sure there would have been some masochists in Twitch chat that put their channel points on Kanga, or some diehards that went, or they couldn't do what I do. Like, every now and then we go, you know what? I know that guy's going to win. I've got 30-odd thousand channel points here. I'm just going to chuck 1,000 on the underdog and see what happened. I did that with the Direwolves Chiefs game, where Direwolves beat them, and nobody else did. So I raked in some channel points. So I was
nice.
very happy. But after all that does give us our final standing for the round robin stage. So Direwolves finish on top with only the one loss to Pentanet. Pentanet and Bliss finish on equal points, but I think Pentanet end up in second. So I'm not quite sure how they count that, because Team Bliss has the head-to-head against Pentanet. So I'm not quite sure how they calculate that, whether it's a coin flip or whatever. Chiefs end up in fourth, which is probably the most surprising thing of the split there, with 4 wins, 3 losses. Ground Zero in at fifth. They ended up with 3 wins, so that was nice. Mammoth in 6th with 2 wins. Kanga also had 2 wins. And Peace officially had 1 win, 1 loss, and 5 forfeits. So I still want to.
Angry.
I am still angry. Because, and I do want to really, I want to drive home the fact that they forfeited those games, because it gets back to the talk that we were having earlier about the professionalism of esports, and missing 5 out of 7 games in a round robin because you couldn't organise your team properly. That's very much not professional. And it's even stuff like I didn't notice it until somebody else on Twitter pointed it out, but their Twitter has not been active since last year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's I don't know why, because you would think that maybe after forfeiting all those games they didn't want to be active on Twitter. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Hopefully they'll pick it up when moving into the next phase of competition.
yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I also need to call attention to stuff here because and I want to stress that this is more an issue for the format than anything else, because I think if this was a real if all teams weren't going through to the group stages, I think we would have seen PGG beat Bliss and we would have seen Chiefs beat Kanga. I think that there's some. I want to phrase this carefully because even the fact that I'm thinking about that these teams might not have performed as well as they did because they knew that they were all going through to the next stage anyway, really upsets me, because I don't want to think that about these teams. I don't want to think that they're not going out and playing their best every game, or that they're maybe using this as a breeding ground to try out something new, or holding some strats in reserve because they know that it doesn't matter in the end. And that's what it's felt like with a lot of these games, is that it doesn't matter, and particularly around Peace coming in and being such a powerful team in the two games that they've played. Like you almost kind of feel that maybe like the teams were trying to just game where they finish on the ladder, and I don't like thinking that about our teams. I like, I want to believe that they're better than that.
Yeah, we absolutely want to believe there's competitive integrity here. But honestly, for me, after what's happened with Peace, it's kind of already undermined that a little bit, which is frustrating. And when you add that into this first round, and there not being any real consequences other than kind of what group you end up in, it allows your mind to wander when you'd much prefer a system where that wouldn't be the case.
Yeah, and it could have gotten very close. Like if Chiefs had beaten Kanga, that would have left Kanga on the same points as Peace. But if Peace came very close to beating Direwolves, like it was very close. It turned into like Peace almost backdoored into the Nexus and got a win there, as Direwolves were rolling forward towards Peace's Nexus. So Peace could almost have finished 7th, and that nightmare situation that I was talking about could have happened, because if Peace had finished 2nd, and it's also dependent on what would have happened with Team Bliss and Chiefs finishing on the same points, but you could have conceivably had a group where Pentanet, Chiefs, and Peace were in, which means the 3 powerhouse teams, and one of them would have had to have missed out. And if Peace managed to get out of a group of death like that, that would have upset me. But even as it stands, like you've got Direwolves and Peace in one group and Pentanet and Chiefs in another group. That's going to be our final 4. Bliss has had some really good games, and the fact that they managed to end up finishing 3rd, I don't want to take anything away from them in their defeat of Pentanet. They must have played really well to beat them. It sucks that we're even thinking that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping, just because of the consequences that occur because of the next round, where teams are getting knocked out, that we won't have any question. Everything is just going to be top-notch play from here. All the teams are going to show up.
Yeah. And moving to the best of 3s as well, that will make it more interesting, because I would like to see how a lot of these teams perform under best of threes. I think it definitely suits the top teams better than the bottom teams, but I would like to be proven wrong. Just look at my picks from last week. That went to shit. So maybe I'll be wrong here as well, but I kind of am leaning more towards those teams, and I think the top teams are going to turn it on because there is something on the line now as well. Like if you don't win, well, if you lose twice because it's a double elimination, you get knocked out of the LCO.
Fingers crossed, hey?
So I do think, though, like, this format is not good. I think that you either... What needs to happen is that you either need to split it into top 4 and then bottom 4, and then you have them play off in the groups, and the two from the bottom 4 that lose go out the back door, and the 2 winners from the bottom 4 play the losers from the top 4. I think that might be a better way of doing it, or even just cutting the bottom 2 teams out. But given the length of the LCO season, I don't think you want to be cutting teams out that early on. So I think all the teams going through to the group stages is still good, but I think you need to give the teams that finish up the top more of an advantage than the teams down the bottom.
Yeah, and we were just throwing around some ideas before, like what you've just mentioned, upper and lower brackets, or there's lots of other options around it that wouldn't leave us thinking this way. But who knows, that they'll do a reevaluation after this season and have a look, and we might see some changes later in the year.
That's it. And as it stands, we've got a little bit of a break before we see the LCO again. So they're taking a mid-split break and returning on the 27th of February. So we've got a couple of weeks without some LCO goodness there. So I'm not sure what I'm going to have to rage about next weekend, Natty.
Oh, we'll find you something. Don't worry.
I'm sure I can find something there because I get angry quite easily up. If I'm being honest, I try not to, but there are certain things that happen and you go, I am not happy about this. But incidentally, one thing that I saw that made me quite happy is there's this clip from Rusty on the LCO broadcast that we're just going to play for you now.
Yeah, but it is so important to remember that winning should be celebrated. Like, it's not as simple as saying I won, but I played bad. Let's focus on how bad I played. If you forget that you won, you stop having fun.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that Hooper is critical to improve, but he should also stop and think to himself, we won that damn game. I'm pretty happy about this one, and celebrate with his team.
Yeah.
But it is
so that's that was in relation to Kanga beating the Chiefs, and in the interview, he basically was down on himself, as players tend to be. Oh no, I played shit. We won GGs and everything, but oh no, I could have played a lot better and whatnot. But it's important to celebrate the wins, and I love that Rusty has said that there, because you need to be critical and understand what you've done wrong, if you've done something wrong in the game, and where you can improve. But take the win.
Yeah. You've got to make sure you're not just hypercritical of yourself all the time and not taking into account how you've managed to perform. And your solo performance isn't everything as well. So if all of your other teammates have done a brilliant job and they've carried you because you've done not so well, your attitude does impact them as well.
Or even the role that you're playing. Because I'll never forget, there was, taking it back to hockey, because I play hockey and I love my hockey club. There was a junior game I watched where these guys were playing in a grand final. They ended up winning, but there was one kid who basically got given a tagger role and took this other guy out of the game and stopped this kid from making plays. But he came off the field feeling that, I didn't participate much in it. I didn't get the ball, blah, 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 blah. And go, mate, you took that guy right out of the game. And being able to know that even if you might not have had the kills, you might not have had the kill involvement, if you played your role on the team and did what the team needed you to do, that is something to be celebrated as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I know it's really easy to just fall into that trap of just being very critical and not looking around you at the bigger picture. So I'm glad that that Rusty spoke about that, and I think Tally shared that clip, didn't he?
He did, yes.
Yeah. So it's good. I like those messages being amplified, which is yeah, it's good to see.
That's it. Because at the end of the day, especially at this level, you're playing a competition, and you don't want to be cocky about it, but at least say, yeah, I feel I played really well. And like coming out of that, Kanga beating Chiefs, Kanga would feel good about that. You know, it's they've taken down the top dog. So congratulations to them, and congratulations to Team Blitz as well in taking down Pentanet, because once again, take the win. You did really well to do that. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we love to see it too. A bit of unexpected results in a league always makes us perk up.
That's it. Yeah. You know, we talked about it last year with the Chiefs having the almost perfect split. You know, I would rather see a close competition than Chiefs or one team just stomping everybody. I absolutely love the variety. I love that last year Kanga threw a spanner in the works. This year Team Bliss seems to be doing reasonably well as well. So, and that Ground Zero has managed to pick up a win too. So I think that there's a lot to be said from variety in the league. But that said, we're come to the end of our show here. Thank you everybody for watching or listening wherever you are. We're very, very grateful to have you with us, and would very much like it if you like what you hear, drop a like, drop a comment if you're watching on YouTube. Share it around, because we do love seeing all the reactions to everything that we're doing here, not just for Nuts and Bolts, but Game on Odds as a whole. So thank you so much, and we will see you all next time.